comfortably zoned with the Zigzag Man in Alameda, California, pushing on the doors of life marked pull and fighting the unholy trinity as we go. Big business, organized religion, and government. I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, and it is the 23rd of December, and I just thought of something that's very interesting. My guest is from Wisconsin. His name is Rob Rabinovitz, and his mom passed away a while ago, as did mine. Your mom was born on December 16th. Am I right?
That's right. That's correct.
Mine on the 23rd today, and we're both thinking about our moms this week. You want to say something about your mom, Ron?
She was a terrific lady. She really was. She was just a magnificent woman. She was so supportive and loving and caring, and I miss her every day.
Really nice to hear, and I can ditto that for Vivian up there in doggy heaven, or wherever people go. I don't know.
That's right.
You got to believe in something, but
absolutely,
they're not gone because they're in our hearts, and
that's right.
There you go. So that was my introduction. Ron, you're an avid Jackie Robinson guy. You have a project going. Tell me the story of how this all got started with you, and how you got to meet Jackie Robinson as a kid, as a 7-year-old.
Right. Well, I grew up in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, Ralph, and my dad used to tell me stories about Jackie, and he said to me, "How would you like to meet him someday?" And I said, "Boy, would I love that." Well, unbeknownst to me, he wrote Jackie a letter and told him how much I admired him. And he didn't want to tell me in case, Jackie never responded, didn't want me disappointed. So Jackie writes back with an autographed picture and a letter, and I'll never forget it. I had come home from school that day and went into my room, and laying on my bedspread face down was an envelope. The back of the envelope said Jackie Robinson. And I jumped and I ran over to the kitchen to my mom. I said, Mom, I got a letter from Jackie. And then I called my dad and told him at the office. And I was so excited. So he sent an autographed picture, and he said, next time the club's in Milwaukee playing the Braves, he'd love to meet me. At that time, the Atlanta Braves were the Milwaukee Braves. So we went to a Dodger-Brave game, and it was the first game, Ralph, I was ever at that I couldn't wait for it to be over because I knew later what was going to happen. So we went down to the locker room and waited for him to come out. And I'm 7 years old now, and all these ball players are coming out, and all these kids are running for their autographs, and I just stood still. I was waiting for one guy. When he came out, I ran up to him, and I said, Jackie, I'm Ronnie Rabinovitz. Do you remember me? He said, sure I do. And my dad standing over my shoulder, and he said, sure, Jackie. Yeah, sure, Jackie. You there, Ralph?
Whoa, some technical difficulties. We're back comfortably zoned. Ron's going to be back with us in a moment. In the meantime, here we go.
field wall. Yeah, boy. Yes, yes, Jackie hit that ball. And when he swung his bat, the crowd went wild because he knocked that ball a solid mile. Yeah, boy. Yes, yes, Jackie hit that ball. Satchel Paige is mellow, so is Campanella. Newcomb and Dobie too. But it's a natural fact, when Jackie comes to bat, the other team is through. Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball? He hit it, yeah, and that ain't all. He's all home. Yes, yes, Jackie's real gone. Jackie Robinson hit that ball. He hit it, yeah, and that ain't all. He's all home. Yes, yes, Jackie's real gone. Oh, Jackie is the real gone guy.
All right. I have you back, Ron.
Hey, how you doing, Ralph? I love that song.
All right. Was that music to your ears or what?
It sure was. It sure was.
All right.
How you doing?
So we've covered pretty much how you got the passion for Jackie. I
Yep.
just you had to be a Milwaukee Brave fan before Jackie. Did you become a Dodger fan?
I was always a Dodger fan,
Oh,
even before, because my dad was a Dodger fan, and I became a Dodger fan too.
Was your dad a Brooklynite?
No, he was from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. He was born and raised there.
Ah,
But he admired the Dodgers because they gave Jackie an opportunity to play Major League Baseball. My dad was very active in civil rights and way ahead of his time.
that far supersedes anything he did on the baseball field.
Right.
In terms of his skills, his Hall of Fame credentials stood on their own. But what he did, and I'm thinking about a statement that Martin Luther King made, that without Jackie, the civil rights thing had been put over in years and years. So a special moment of thanks to him, and you picked quite a hero yourself.
I sure did. I was very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. Before 1947.
Did you get to know Rachel Robinson at all?
Very well, yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, she came to Minneapolis in 1997. It was the 50th anniversary of Jackie breaking the color line in baseball. And, the year after he passed away, she started a foundation called the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which is a scholarship program for children of color and minorities to go to college. They have the greatest graduation rate of any scholarship program in the United States, 97%, which is way, way double the national average. And Jackie would have been so proud because education was so important to him. So in 1997, she came to Minneapolis. It was Kirby Puckett weekend. And the Twins were honoring Rachel and Jackie's memory. And they had a press conference at the Metrodome in the afternoon. I was invited to the press conference. And they were presenting her a check for $50,000 to the foundation in memory of Jackie. So she's at the head table, and I'm sitting in the audience with a bunch of reporters. I'm looking at her, and I'm grinning from ear to ear, and I'd never met her before. She's kind of looking at me and says, like, what's that reporter grinning about? And then after the news conference, I came up to her, and I went up to her, and I said, Rachel, I'm Ronnie Rabinovitz. And just like that, she hugged and kissed me, and she says, oh, my God, she said, you're Ronnie Rabinovitz, she says. Oh, my God, she said, Jack loved you so much. And I brought all kinds of pictures and letters, and she was just so thrilled to see them. And then that evening, there was a ceremony at the game, and I was sitting in one of the boxes, and they unveiled a picture of Jackie on the outfield wall, and then she came up and sat with me for about 4 innings in the box, and we had a chance to visit and talk about her family and my family, and it was just wonderful to be with her.
Oh, very nice. That
marvelous lady.
What a thrill for you after all those years of being in touch with Jackie and the time that between.
And right away, as soon as she heard my name, she knew who it was. It was just like that. Oh my God, she hugged and kissed me. It was so exciting, such a thrill. And I met Sharon, her daughter. Sharon and I have become very close, and
nice.
She's been to Minneapolis several times, and we've gotten together. And she's a marvelous lady too. She goes around the country and speaks about her dad, as I do. And she also works for Major League Baseball in education department, and she writes children's books. So she's really a magnificent lady.
Nice. Can you tell me something about Jackie that we don't know, or when I say we, that isn't common knowledge around? It may surprise us.
Well, Jackie was a Republican, which was very unusual in those days.
All right, I'm already surprised. That's
okay.
But that's not when a Republican was a Republican like a Republican is now. See that?
Right. And
let's
you know what?
Make that clear to those of you with short memories.
My dad was a big Democrat, and they used to argue occasionally, but they loved each other about politics. And I can understand why Jackie was a Republican, because in those days, the leaders of the Democratic Party were Southern Dixiecrats, who were so that makes sense. But my dad was very close friends with Jack Kennedy. Matter of fact, Jack Kennedy slept at our home one night, and Bobby did another night before he was president. And
really?
my dad was the Democratic National Committeeman for the state of Wisconsin. And he was instrumental in bringing Jack Kennedy into the Wisconsin primary in 1960, because he felt that if he could beat Humphrey in his backyard, it would help catapult him to the nomination, which in fact it did. So he took me out of high school off and on during the Wisconsin primary. He took me out of high school off and on for 6 weeks. And I traveled around the whole family, got to know the whole family very well. So my two heroes were Jack and Jackie. So Jackie was in Washington, D.C. My dad was in Washington at a National Committee meeting conference. And Jack Kennedy was up in his suite, and he brought Jackie Robinson up to him to try to convince him to support him. And Jackie just couldn't do it. He thought, what does a rich kid from New England have any idea about the plight of African Americans? So he did support Richard Nixon, and later on he admitted to me he made a mistake. And when
Jackie.
Bobby ran for president, he supported him. So, but it was Jackie would waver. One letter he'd say, "Tell your dad Ike has made me a Democrat." And then the next letter he'd say, "You know what? I'm tired of what the Democrats are doing, and I'm back to a Republican, independent, leaning toward the Republican Party." He would support whoever would help support their cause, his cause, So he kind of wavered there. But he was a Rockefeller Republican, which today probably Rockefeller would have been a Democrat.
Absolutely. Nixon would have been a Democrat, for crying out loud.
Right. That's right. So that's something
scare all of
I
us.
might have known. Jackie was very active in politics and very active in civil rights. I was out in L.A. Larry King brought me out there a few months back and did an interview with me. And he was telling me a story that the first time he had interviewed Martin Luther King, he introduced him as the founder of the civil rights movement. And Martin Luther King stopped him and said, no, he said, Larry, I'm not the founder. Jackie Robinson was. So, pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Anything about Branch Rickey that you know that their relationship that you might share with Jackie and Branch?
He had a great respect for Branch Rickey, and he actually loved him. I mean, Branch Rickey was he was way ahead of his time. Branch Rickey was the genius in this whole experiment. He was, because he had to find the right guy. Now, Jackie was a great athlete, and he was a great baseball player, but he certainly wasn't the best ball player. But, there was Satchel Paige was terrific. He wanted to be the first one. He was a womanizer. Josh Gibson, who was a catcher, who probably hit 70, 80, 90 home runs a year, he was an alcoholic. So Branch Rickey had to find the right guy, and Jackie was the right guy. Jackie didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he didn't take drugs, he was married, he was religious, he was educated, he had all the right attributes that Branch Rickey wanted.
And Branch Rickey wanted someone who could turn the other cheek for a while. A limited amount.
That was not easy for Jackie because
Are you kidding?
Jackie
of course
was
not.
a fighter. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
In the Army, he was court-martialed. Because he refused to go to the back of the bus because he said, I'm fighting for the United States. I'm in the military. I have a right to sit where I want. And he was arrested and court-martialed, and he was found not guilty. But, so he was a fighter. But he knew what he was doing because this had to be more than just fighting. The bigots wanted him to fight. They tried every reason to get him to fight so that they could say, see, he's nothing but trouble, get him out of here. So the only way he could fight was...
The process aged him terribly.
No question. Terribly, sure.
He internalized
He died. He was
things.
53 years old when he died. He was a young man. I was with him about 6 months before he passed away. I was in New York. I was in on business. I moved to Minneapolis in 1966, and I was at that time a manufacturer's rep and sold children's apparel. So I used to get to New York a lot. And every time I get to New York, I'd call him, and we'd get together and have lunch, or if he was too busy, we'd just talk on the phone. But all the time we'd be in contact. So I was with him 6 months before he passed away, and he was in pretty rough shape. He had diabetes, he had a heart attack, and he was in pretty bad health. He was blind in one eye, he was going blind in the other eye. And it was so sad because I had to take him by the arm and help him into this restaurant. And as we were going into the restaurant, it flashed in my mind, remembering him dancing up and down the bases, driving those pitchers crazy. He drove them crazy. And he was so happy to see me, and he wanted to hear all about my family, and I, of course, about his. Afterwards, I hailed him a cab and got him settled in the cab. And I leaned in and I kissed him on the cheek and told him how much I loved him. And that was the last time I saw him. And I remember as I stood on that corner in Manhattan, as that cab disappeared into space, I had tears running down my cheeks because I knew I'd never see him again. He was a tremendous man.
Man, great story, Ron.
Every time I share my story, I remember what one man told me one day. He said, yours is a story that only happens in dreams. And it's true. I was very, very fortunate. And I go around the country and I speak about Jackie. I have a whole presentation with a PowerPoint. I talk to organizations and companies and schools and whoever, you know. And
right.
I've done it for over 25 years.
That is, there are no real words for that. Nobody can react to that, and it's just feelings. You know what I mean?
It is. It is. Well, he meant so much to me, you know.
Yeah.
He was, and you know, I often wondered why me. Here, we were so different, you know. I was white, he was black. I was Jewish, he was Christian. I was a kid,
right.
he was an adult. I was from a small town in the Midwest, and he was from a large city out east. And yet there was this bond of friendship and love, and he just loved me, and I loved him.
So, very nice. Did you get to know Ron at all, his kid?
His kids? He didn't have a son, Ron.
Yeah,
he had a son, Jackie Jr.
I'm sorry. Did you get to know him?
And then he had a son, David.
One of
so
his
he had
sons
two
died
boys and a
tragically.
girl.
One of his
Sorry?
sons died tragically. Am I correct?
That's correct. Jackie Jr. was about a year or two younger than I was. And in many of the letters he would write about Jackie Jr. because we had similar interests. We were both playing Little League ball, or he was going to camp, or I was going to camp. And Jackie would play baseball, and some of the adults would say, you know, you're okay, kid, but you're sure not as good as your old man. And having that big name, Jackie Robinson Jr., those were pretty big shoes to fill. So he wasn't a great athlete. So he ended up going to the war in Vietnam, and he came back. His father was on Governor Rockefeller's commission against firearms and drugs. And Jackie Jr. came back as a heroin addict, and he was arrested with a packet of heroin and a firearm. And Jackie was devastated, and he said, I don't know how I could have been influenced on any other kids when I wasn't an influence on my own. And Jackie Jr. ended up going into a treatment program, and that's where he found his niche in life. After he got out of that treatment program, he became a counselor there. And there were these glowing letters from all these addicts that said, I owe my life to Jackie. If it wasn't for him, I'd be dead today. And one night, he was driving home from work all alone. I don't know what happened. He might have fallen asleep at the wheel. But he was killed in a one-car accident. There was no drugs or no alcohol in his system. And to have a son, to lose him to drugs, to regain him, and then lose him permanently was too much. Jackie Jr. died in 1971, and his dad the following year in 1972. It was a tragic, sad story. And David Robinson, his younger brother, or younger son, lives in Africa and in Tanzania, and he started a coffee farm, and he's growing coffee, and he has got jobs for all these people, and it's called Sweet Unity Farms. So it's an amazing family. They've all given back. They've all paid it forward, and it's an honor for me to know them.
Beautiful. It's an honor for me to have you on the show, my friend.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And,
I'm glad to do it.
Absolutely. And I just want you to have a very, very happy holiday season. And
you too. You too. Would you like me to read a couple excerpts of a couple of letters that he wrote to me?
I would be unbelievably delighted.
Okay. Well, here's one letter. He says, Dear Ronnie, I'm happy to know everything went well at your bar mitzvah. My schedule has been so busy I've not been able to keep up with my outside responsibilities. Tell your dad Ike has made me a Democrat. It doesn't seem that I will be in Sheboygan soon. My work here has been very heavy, and I haven't been able to get away as much as I would like. Ronnie, one of the things that pleases me most is our friendship continues even though I am no longer connected with baseball. It's friends like you that make me feel that everything that happened was worthwhile. I hope we do get a chance to see each other soon. It seems when people are as far apart as we are, they have a tendency to forget. I hope we don't. My regards to the family. I hope everything continues to go well. Always, Jackie. Amazing letter, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Here was another one.
I'm cheering up because I had a bar mitzvah, and Jackie Robinson didn't send me a letter.
He was invited, by the way, too.
Jackie wasn't invited to mine, and I'm cheering up again.
I'll tell you one thing. On my 10th birthday, we were in Milwaukee watching the Dodgers play. Jackie hit a home run. As he was rounding third, he waved to me like that was for me. And that night, he came to the restaurant with us, and here I had Jackie Robinson singing Happy Birthday to me on my 10th birthday. It's something I'll never forget. It was in 1955. It was the year the Dodgers finally beat the damn Yankees. It was great.
Thank you, Johnny Padres, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Here's another one. Dear Ronnie, you're very kind to say the nice things you did. I learned a long time ago that a person must be true to himself if he is to succeed. He must be willing to stand by his principles, even at the possible loss of prestige. He must first learn to live with himself before he can hope to live with others. I have been fortunate. God has been good to me, and I intend to work as hard as I can to repay all the things people have done for me. I appreciate your friendship and feel as long as you set a worthwhile goal and head for it, you will do well. Continued good luck. Give my regards to the family. Always, Jackie. Amazing, huh?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was something.
Nice.
He was baseball's greatest pioneer.
Right.
What he did.
I mean, his number retired in every major league park.
Isn't that great?
Major league.
Yeah.
That
itself
wonderful. Is wonderful, and that's a lasting tribute from baseball standpoint. They could not have honored
absolutely
a better way.
You know, they say Babe Ruth changed baseball. Jackie Robinson changed America, and he did it alone. He was the greatest pioneer. Jackie's done more for our culture. He's more powerful at changing the face of sports and breaking on the color barrier. He changed all our lives.
Yeah, no question about it. I got my third tear up. I was raised a New York Giant fan, and but as
I want to hold that
back,
again.
without the Giants, there's no Dodgers. Without the Brooklyn Dodgers, there's no New York Giants.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
And tell me about that trade. Right at the end, O'Malley traded him to the
yes, he did.
rival New York Giants.
It was
he never
terrible.
took.
I was
never
crushed.
took uniform.
I was so crushed. Huh? He never took.
He
uniform.
never.
No, he retired. He retired
right.
before that, but it was Jackie loved Branch Rickey. He was not too crazy about Walter O'Malley, and Walter O'Malley wasn't too crazy about him. And they decided to trade him to the Giants. I mean, it was a horrible slap in the face after all he had done. And he was really hurt. He decided he was not going to play for the Giants. He retired instead. He had already told me, we had dinner in Milwaukee one day, and it was kind of an interesting thing. He had been playing, he usually played second base or third base. This particular day he was playing left field. And a line drive went by him and rolled all the way to the fence. He missed it. And we had dinner that night, and I said, Jackie, that was a tough play. And he says, tough heck. He says, Amarillo would have had it. Sandy Amarillo was a rookie, fast left fielder. And he said, Ronnie, if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have played all the sports I did. And he says, my legs are gone. And he said, I'm going to tell you a secret that no one else knows except my own family. He said, next year will probably be my last year in baseball. And after that year, he did retire after he was traded. He had already made arrangements with Chock full of nuts to work for them. And
right.
He was not going to play
for the
They were on
125th Street and Lenox Avenue in New York City.
Yeah. And they had coffee shops all around the New York area, kind of like a Caribou or a Starbucks.
No, but I mean the main office was on 100.
Oh yeah,
and Lennox, and I would run into him. I worked for an insurance agency, Crone & Crone, Columbia Mutual, when I just got out of high school. I sold insurance, and I would run into him on that very, very famous intersection of Lennox.
425 Lexington Avenue.
Yeah, right. And we were at 5-something Lexington Avenue or 120, right around the corner, right down the street. And I'd see him, and I could never. I was 18 years old, and I could never. It was like seeing the Pope. You know, what are you going to say?
Right.
I couldn't muster, and I'm a talkative. Even then, believe it or not, I had a big mouth, so I wasn't afraid. I had chutzpah. I wasn't afraid. This guy awed me. What can I say that would make any difference in what he heard? In other words, it was best that I just watched him from afar. That's the way I looked at it.
He was such a great guy. Such a great
What
guy.
an aura about him. I remember. And it was winter. I remember he had this big, heavy camel roof-like coat. And I don't think he was bitter that there wasn't a major league manager that was black.
That's right. He was.
I mean, I remember I was an original Met fan, and he was so critical of the Mets and Casey Stengel, and he didn't like
Casey Stengel was kind of a bigot.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
he was really
he was a man of his time. He wasn't anything more than, and unfortunately, Jackie was a man of all time. He wasn't limited by his mind wasn't limited about how it was then. Your story about how he was in the military. You know, he was a lieutenant. I mean, this guy was risking he didn't give a fiddler.
That's right.
He stood up for whatever it was.
What he thought was right. That's right.
Right.
And
so
you know, he was just such a great. I mean, after he got out of baseball, you know, he founded a bank called Harlem National Bank.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which was a bank that could help African Americans get loans. Because a lot of the other financial institutions would inflate their loans because they were African Americans. You know,
and it wasn't just the banking institution; it was the insurance companies who redlined people. It was the markets that would come in that you'd have markets that would overcharge in poor neighborhoods. It was disgraceful.
Absolutely, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible.
You
know, so getting back to Jackie, so I was telling you a story. So I knew he was going to retire. He had said that already, and then he was traded. And of course, I cried, and I told him, I wrote him a letter, and I told him how sorry I was. And he assured me, everything would be okay. And I knew he wasn't going to play for the Giants because he had already signed an agreement to. Well, chock full of nuts. Stone, his name was Stone, the fellow that owned it, and he had assured Jackie that whenever he retired, he had a job for him. So
he also had an article going in Look magazine or one of those magazines.
Yeah, Life magazine or Look. Yeah,
Life okay. Yeah. Where he was going to come out and tell the real story, this, that, and the other thing.
Right. Yeah.
I got into Jason. I did a book report on Jackie Robinson when I was a kid. 3 or 4 consecutive years, the same book report. One of the few books I did read, that and the Sal Magley story. Speaking of weird things, when Sal Magley went from the Giants to the Dodgers.
Right. Sal the barber.
Sal the Barber is pretty. For a kid, it's hard to understand when your hero gets traded from the team you love, and that's just the way it is. I guess we'll live with all the disappointments in life. You're a blessed man, Ron.
Thank you. Martin Luther King once called Jackie a pilgrim that walked in the lonesome byways toward the high road of freedom. He was a sit-inner before sit-ins and a freedom rider before freedom rides. It's true.
Oof.
He was something.
Absolutely, very well said, Dr. King.
Amazing.
Thank you, Ron.
Man. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Have a very, very good holiday, and I say the same to all of my audience.
And a happy and healthy New Year to all.
Blessed to have a job, as it were, where I can talk to people like you, interesting people like you, and
thank you.
Share it with people that are out there.
If you ever want to bring me out there and do some speeches, I'd love to.
I could bring you out. I'll give you a place to stay. How about that?
Oh, that sounds good. All
right, we'll work something out. We're in lovely downtown Alameda, which is right across the bay from San Francisco with 9 minutes on the bus. And we have East Bay weather. Love to have you out here. We'll put something together.
Thanks, Ralph. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks. Take care.
All right.
Okay.
Adios.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was Ron Rabinovitz. Happy holidays, everyone. This is a pretty cool gig for the old guy. I'm going to end it the way I do every segment, just for you. I implore you, keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your children out of military recruiting stations and off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. Have a great one.